It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Do you know the difference between a product, a platform, and a service? I just saw this post and I thought it was really interesting. It came out in this past April and it talks about the differences between a product, a platform, and a service. Now, at first, I thought this was just going to be very straightforward and easy. But then as I started to read, I discovered that there is some confusion here with regard to a product not being a project or a project not being a platform. So, one of the examples that they give, and this is a quote from Bosvod, the co creator of Less, he says, "A product does not have scope." That makes sense. A product is usually designed for long term. A project actually has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We always have some long term initiatives that exist, but are they all products if they're long term? That's the question. So, another quote here from Craig Larman. He says, paraphrasing, a product is something that basically an external customer or end user would recognize and probably pay for it with their own money or their data or some other consideration. So, if you think about it from that perspective, we need to understand better who the target consumer was to know whether it's a product, a platform, or a service. So let's go through and discuss the definition of each. Let's just give like a high level definition. So when I think of a product, a lot of times the first thing that comes to mind is the physical product, a physical product that you can purchase, an ink pen, a computer, a laptop, a new watch, a TV. Those are all products. But those aren't the only types of products. Products don't always have to be physical. A product could be a virtual product, it could be a digital product, it could be a hybrid product that uses a hardware component and a software application component. It could be a service that's offered for sale to serve a customer's need or want, like an application. That's also a product. It could be a vehicle that continually runs, like a digital product that delivers value, where external customers or end users know what is produced or served when we mention it, and people are expected to pay for it somehow, sometimes with money, sometimes with just data, or sometimes with other considerations, as we discussed before. A product can be built upon building blocks of platforms, systems, subsystems, components, etc. So we talked about examples of products, anything from a chair to a cake to a computer to a cell phone. Those are all different products. And once again, I just want to make sure I'm clear. They don't always have to be physical. All right, let's talk about a platform. A platform is an item, physical, virtual, digital, or hybrid, that is produced, or a service, or something that can be recognized by external customers and users as it underpins or becomes an enabler that enables value. However, it does not in and of itself deliver value. It's usually, but not always, unrecognized by the external customer and user. So, an example I'm trying to think of here is Salesforce. Salesforce we recognize, but it's usually not recognized as the internal backend system. It's often mistakenly labeled as a product. Examples of a platform can include a resource planning system, a customer relation management system, a CRMS, e learning systems within a company, or a podcast hosting or a distribution system like we're using right now. A platform can also be built upon building blocks of systems, subsystems, or components, but it's the piece behind the scenes that drives the value of the product that you're getting. Okay, let's talk about a service. A service could be work that you do, assistance or advice given to a customer, rental of a product, platform, system, subsystem, component, or experience, a labor originated value. So if you think about house painting or access to Amazon Prime or a professional printing or graphic design service or a website hosting service, those are all examples of services. So some commoditized services and products matter more than others. And I know this is kind of quirky, but this is where he went in the article that I had to stop and listen. So hear me through. If you're a product owner, you should be owning a physical product. I take that back. It doesn't have to be physical. You should be owning a product. A product is something that the external customer recognizes. And for one product, you have one product owner. That's what the Scrum Guide says. If you have a number of platforms that are underpinning that product, the expectation is there's still only one product owner for that product, and they support all those different platforms. We wouldn't expect to have a product owner for each platform. That just wouldn't make sense. It would be too cumbersome. If you're doing it correctly, I think the key to all of this is that your focus shifts from just being outcome or output rather to being outcome focused. You want to make sure you're focused on the outcome of what you're trying to do. Happy customers with as little output as possible. And I find that organizations often struggle with that idea. So, one of the things that you need to do is you need to start focusing on, yes, the importance of what's happening today and in the next sprint, but you also need to take a moment for some upfront planning to make sure you understand how this is going to impact things long term. Because, as we mentioned with regard to our debt conversation recently, we don't want to be doing things that are going to cause intentional debt in the near future. We want to make sure that we're careful and not careless about what we build, how we build it, and what impact it has on people who are consuming that particular product or service. So I think if you wanted to summarize this and kind of pull it all together, you need to have a long term vision and strategy for, well, I guess I'll break it down one step higher than that. Let's go here. The three components that I see that are necessary in order to pull this all together. One, you need to have a North Star, the organizational North Star that drives where we're trying to go strategically, what our mission is, and why are we trying to go there. Are we trying to be Elon Musk and get to Mars, or are we trying to do something different? The second piece is we need to have a clear vision and strategy or understanding of our product, its supporting platforms, and services it may provide. Because the three do interconnect. It's just they are different things with different meanings. And I think that's a place where people get in trouble. And then finally, how do we organize around the work instead of constantly trying to manipulate the people or change up the people so that we can make sure that we're analyzing and controlling the flow of work and not constantly hyper analyzing how the people consume the work. Okay, so that's going to do it for this episode. I hope it was helpful. If you have questions, concerns, or thoughts about products, platforms, and services, reach out to us. Learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.